Three phases, risk rates, what the bonds, what it is, what it is. A meeting before this. But have you been impacted when it's one of the reasons you're compared to a lot of the yeah. Well, how are you? The water. What? Huh? That's true.
Check 1 2. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Good evening and welcome to tonight's town board meeting. It is Tuesday, February 13th, 2018. First item on our agenda tonight is a long-awaited Old Farm Water District hearing. And David Smith is here to answer any questions. I would ask the town clerk to read the notice.
Notice of public hearing. Notice is hereby given that the town board of the town of Mount Pleasant, Westchester County, New York, will meet at the townhouse in Valhalla, New York, in said town on February 13th, 2018 at 8:00 p.m. prevailing time, for the purpose of conducting a public hearing on whether it is in the public interest to undertake the proposed increase and improvement of the facilities of the town's Old Farm Hill Water District, consisting of the replacement of water mains as described in a map, plan, and report on file for public inspection at the office of the town clerk, prepared by Charles A. Manganera Consulting Engineers at a maximum estimated cost of $16,430,000. The cost of such increase and improvement would be charged to the Old Farm Hill Water District. The aforesaid design and preliminary engineering work has been determined to be a Type 2 action pursuant to the regulations of the New York State Department of Environmental Conservation, promulgated pursuant to the State Environment Quality Review Act, the implementation of which, as proposed, the town board has determined will not result in any significant environmental effects. At said public hearing, said town board will hear all persons interested in the subject matter thereof. By order of the town board, Town of Mount Pleasant, Westchester County, Patricia June Scova, Town Clerk.
Thank you. Anyone wish to address the board at this time is welcome to do so in regards to the Old Farm Water District improvements.
Would you sign it, please? Just give me your name. Thank you.
So, hi, my name's Daryl Battaglia. I actually just had a question first. I was wondering whether we're actually going to hear about a little bit more about the proposed plan, as far as like the reasons for doing it and what the plans are for phase 2, phase 3.
I believe there was public information meetings on this project. But you can, David, you want to just give an overview on?
Yeah. Sure.
Is this on? Good evening. Just give a quick overview on the plan. Tonight was to have a hearing on the authorization of the full, to bond the full project. The next phase would be to actually finance the project, whether we do it in phases. Our recommendation was to do phase 1, which was a majority of the Sony area and also portions of Laurel Lane and Deerfield Lane North, because we had the highest number of incidents in those areas. For the reason of the ability to seek grant money or grant funding, outside funding, it was just at least fund the phase 1 area, which would have the most benefit. We'll be able to reduce the number of water main breaks in that area. I think last year we had 6 water main breaks for 2017, which is on par for the average. And 4 of those water main breaks were in Usonia, and we're talking about phase 1. So if we can knock out those, reduce those water main repairs, also the water loss, the recovery of our water losses from the water main repairs, and that would result in the most least financial impact to the district. So we figure let's do phase 1. As far as phase 2 and phase 3, we didn't want to eliminate those from the bond, so we will have the ability to seek financing once. Our recommendation is doing phase 1 first, because in order to install 27,000 linear feet of water mains, it's just going to take a couple of years. So we'd rather tackle this in phases. Should there be a need to expedite the other phases, we will be allowed to go out to finance that, but then that would be just more of the economic reasons to proceed in that direction. So, and a majority of all these decisions or recommendations that we presented to the board, we did receive from a survey that was sent out and also through public meetings. And if I could just get a quick timeline on this whole process. In October 2016, we actually had meetings with members of the district about the possibility of replacing the mains. On November 15th, the Usonia Homeowner Association spoke to the town board at a working session. At that time, the board requested for a significant public outreach campaign to occur in order to proceed to recommend this project move forward. March 17th, we created 2017, we created a pamphlet that was mailed out to all 540 customers in the district. April 3rd, we sent a letter stating about holding public meetings. On April 12th and April 18th of 2017, we did hold public meetings. And out of those meetings came this request for a survey. On the 27th, the survey went out. May 10th, 2017, we received about 175 responses, or 30%, which is a significant positive response for surveys that have gone out. On October 17th, came back to the town board at a working session to update on the survey and our potential recommendations. And then on the 30th, we went out with the letter. So it kind of shows a significant timeline to get where we are today.
Thank you.
So, and also just moving forward, if the board chooses to approve of the bond authorization, then we'll have the ability to go out for financing. But the other key thing is once they if you do approve, we will be able to start seeking grant work or grant funding for these projects.
I first have a comment. I live on Old Farm Road South, and I asked all my neighbors about whether they were coming to the meeting, and no one has received any notification about the meeting on our street. So it was news to everyone about tonight's meeting. So something to think about.
Did anybody here get notice of tonight's meeting?
I did, but none of my neighbors did, and they had no idea what I was talking about.
We sent out a mailing to everybody in the district.
Well, just perhaps in future mailings that they're a little more salient because no one had any idea what I was talking about.
So everyone in the district received the letter? Yes.
And not having been to previous meetings, my question is when the approval, I know we're voting on approval, what portion of that is that for any environmental remediation should any of the asbestos become friable or pose environmental threat? We're all families with small children, and if not for us, for our children's drinking water.
Sure.
That's a good question.
That's actually a good question. We did speak with the county health department, who their recommendation was that is to leave it in place. I mean, it would still be the town's requirement when there were access in the area by utilities, when we are still trained in asbestos removal. The health department's decision to leave it in place is that if we have to excavate, remove, it would probably lead to more potential for release of fibers when you're trying to excavate and getting out of the ground. So the standard now is to leave it in place, and also just to acknowledge that it's there, and to make sure that be steadfast in case anybody does encroach the area, that we can at least attend and remediate if necessary.
Hi, my name's Ron Saletti. I live on Deerfield Lane North on the corner of Crestview. And the question I have, I did have a chance to come and attend previous meetings. And one of the things about the funding, the financing of the activity that was mentioned was because of the Usonia area being an area that could be looked at within New York as an area that New York wanted to continue to support in a more direct fashion because of the significance of the area. I was led to believe that there was some opportunity there to work with New York to get a favorable bond or additional help separate from the bond. What's the status of that?
There's actually there's two vehicles as far as bonding through EFC, New York City EFC, and there's the actual grant to provide funding for the project, and then there is bonding relief for the project. So whereas when we go out to market, I think our last bond we out to market was close to 3%. EFC does offer 1% loans. So what we will do is go out to seek the financing. They are an avenue to obtain financing for, but what they also do too is even if we don't have the ability to tap into their funding, as we proceed forward, they do fund projects that are already completed. We actually had a sewer project. It was already done. We were already paying the bond, and then we actually refinanced through them and obtained, I think, a 1 and 1.5% savings on the bond, which is a significant economic benefit. So if we do proceed on a normal financial market, we will be okay, because we do have the opportunity to go back to the New York State EFC under a separate, not only can we get funding for the remaining portion of the project, but we could fund the entire project, even if it's underway, for a low-cost bonding opportunity.
And David, correct me if I'm wrong, but in some instances, I can't remember if it applies to this one. They insist that you have the project more or less funded before they'll offer grants.
Correct, and that's really for the funding part and also the bonding part. You know, and that last project we had, like I said, was already completed, and they opened up the applications for it, and then we did receive and was approved for that. The one other thing that just wanted to note is that one question we had in the public meetings was, because we were saying we're getting such a significant difference from the water losses, some people have said, well, what about the meters you're replacing, the new meters? Maybe they're operating at 40%, and we can pick up, you know, all that extra efficiency. We could pick up so much more. We're not going to get that return. But we did review all the this testing of our meters, and luckily our meters are about 94% accurate, the old meters on average. So there's a potential 6% gain in that, but we're still talking a lot of opportunity to recover some losses.
Anyone else?
Where did the 16.34 million come from? Did you get multiple quotes from multiple contractors? And
a feasibility study was conducted, where the consultant was hired to review all the mains and the scope, the work of the projects. The estimates were basically done on estimates that are current prices in the region, but there isn't, we haven't actually gone out to bid on the projects or sought contractors. We know what it costs for other water main installations. However, by doing it in a 3-phase type of scenario, it was, if once we put out the first phase, we'll have a better reflection on the costs. If our first phase costs come back significantly lower, then we could adjust the bond, even though we have authorization to go out for, let's say, $16.4 million. It doesn't mean we have to seek financing for that to pay it off. So if in the course of our letting of the project, we find that our numbers are coming down significantly lower, we don't have to be, we're actually we'll be thankful for that, because then we don't have to go for the full 16 million.
And second would be, I assume it was decided, or it's going to be decided, that the price of water is going to go up to partially fund this. But is there a percentage or a time frame where that's going to be in effect? If it's a 10-year bond that you get, is the rate just going to be for that 10 years? Does it automatically sunset after that?
Yeah, our recommendation was to adjust the rates, because I think in the interim, it was decided that instead of just having your taxes go up, it'll give you some time, whether you're purchasing or selling your house. Also, you can control the amount of water you're using, so it can control what you're putting into the cost of the return on the project. I'm not sure on the other phases of work how that'll dictate, but as far as the rates, if we look at our revenue and versus our expenses, and our revenue goes up and we have a healthy fund balance, then we'll lower the water rates. We did that recently when we did the tier rate system. We did lower the tiers, so we're looking to save money. We're not looking to spend. So if those rates are high, and then once the bond is finalized, then we would return back to the lower rates if we don't have a use, or if we have a very healthy fund balance.
David, if you do it through the water rates, everybody is very conservative. You're going to drop the amount of money you're collecting towards paying down the note. How does that work?
Can you say that again? That's a
If you're
trick
using,
question.
if you're using the water rates to pay the financing, everybody turns out to be very conservative with their water use.
Yeah.
They're not going to be buying as much water. We're not going to be bringing in the revenue to cover the cost of the.
Yeah, I mean, the only opportunity we have to pay for our expenses is through taxes, raising the tax to the district, or through the water rates. And it's a balancing act. Some years, I mean, we try and keep the taxes down, but some years we may have other expenses. Hopefully not in this case, but every year we'll be able to analyze how our funding is, and if we have to seek to raise taxes to offset that, then we'll have to do that. I still think it's better to maybe seek raising of the rates, and automatically if we raise taxes, you got no opportunity to lower that. At least when you raise the rates, you can balance it out with taxes or vice versa.
Makes sense. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Evan Kingsley, and I'm a resident of 30 Usonia Road. And I just want to say thank you to this board for its diligent work and its attention to an issue that's been affecting our neighborhood and others for many, many years. I'm also particularly grateful, and I know I speak on behalf of my family, and I think I speak on behalf of my neighbors as well, to the water department and to the municipal employees who have been incredibly responsive to the issues that have affected us over all these years. And I think I speak on behalf of my neighborhood in saying that were we to be in a position to support or vote positively for this issue, if it were affecting our neighbors in adjacent neighborhoods, we would do so as well. So thank you to all of you, and to the town, and to all the employees who've been so helpful.
Thanks, Mr.
Thank you.
Appreciate
I'd
it.
like to hear that.
Yeah, from the beginning, we never wanted to make it appear that this project is strictly for Usonia. The water mains on the other side of the street have asbestos in them also. So, and they're fed, your district is being fed by these asbestos mains. So we're not just focusing on Usonia, we're focused on the entire district where the issues are. So just to be clear on that.
Mr. Kingsley reminded me, when you come up to the mic, just say who you are and where you live, so we have it for the record. Thank you.
Yeah, Tony Fiore. I live on Old Farm Road South. I had a question. I attended the meeting in the spring and also received the pamphlet that was mailed out to everybody. And in that pamphlet and at the meeting, the phase one of the project is described as limited to Usonia, and it was going to replace 6,000 linear feet of water mains. In the letter I received dated January 30th of this year, as the first time I saw it, phase one, it looks like the scope has changed. Now includes Laurel Lane, Deerfield Lane North, and it's gone from 6,000 linear feet of pipe to 14,000, so it's more than doubled. And it looks like you're presenting the cost in a little different fashion, whereas before it was estimated $6 million for phase one. Could you update us on what the new cost estimate is for phase one today, given the expansion of the scope? And could you also address to what extent bringing in Laurel Lane and Deerfield North, how many households does that affect? And given that the survey that you sent out was based on a phase one that was limited to Usonia, and now there's potentially many more households that are affected by phase one, should we consider doing a second survey, since many more, it was based on a project that no longer exists?
I have to give you the exact numbers, but the pamphlet may have been incorrect. The first phase, the original first phase, is $6 million, which included replacement of 15,400 linear feet of asbestos water main. There was an additional 1,200 feet that was going to be installed on King Street for a redundancy supply of the district. So that linear foot in that amount was about $6 million. The new project, and it may have been a little plus or minus, but those were estimates. The new project, what we did is we brought in Laurel Lane and we brought in Deerfield Lane North, a section. I believe it's only 700 or 800 feet, but I'd have to see this. Maybe about 20 houses in the area, but it was brought in based on necessity than anything else. The one driveway, I forgot what the address is, but we've replaced that driveway 3 times in the last 2 years because it keeps breaking. A couple feet up, we replaced it a length up. So also in 2016, we spent $45,000 to replace the valves and the ductile iron just outside the meter pit on Laurel Lane. So that whole area, if I had people from the water department here, also the guys that have worked there, they've actually said that's got to be one of the first. There was their recommendation to me. We're always out here in this area, so so it was really based on necessity. I can definitely give you the final numbers, but it's only a small portion that was part of phase 2 that we bumped up because of the necessity to have these mains replaced. And like I said, last year there was 6 water main breaks, and 4 of them occurred in that area. 3 of them was in Usonia, 1 was on that driveway on Deerfield Lane North. But the prior there, I think there was 3 or 4 within a year, 2.5. So there is a significant number there. So I'd hate to just go with a phase 1 in Usonia, and then we're still going up to this area when I'd rather grab everything in phase 1. And then if we have, only a couple repairs a year, we can do that as we have other phases coming in.
Anyone else like to speak?
Ken Noonan of Valhalla, and I don't live in the district, I'm sorry to say. I just have a question. Is the Usonia area, or that particular district, is that the only district in the town that has the asbestos mains?
To my knowledge, there's a small portion of the Kensico district that has some asbestos main in around the Westlake area, that area back in that Westlake area / Stevens area. It's a small portion, but it is still a small portion of the Kensico Water District.
These asbestos mains are pretty unique to this district that we're talking about. And the other question was, being that you're going to leave the asbestos pipe there, has any consideration been given to lining the asbestos pipe rather than putting in new water main? Is there any cost savings in doing that?
I don't know if the health department would ever recommend lining of the asbestos mains, because if there ever is an issue, that you still have to go through the process of replacing the asbestos main to do it. The key is when an asbestos main breaks, we have to basically do a do not use water alert and have the water off until we get an asbestos sample back that the water's been clear. The other thing too is when you're lining pipe, a lot of times you're going through valves. You got to cut valves. You got to open the pipe in order to get into it. So every time you're doing that, you're disturbing the actual pipe. So I don't think that there would be a recommendation to go that route. And not only that, but when you have to hire contractors to come in, you're probably going to be paying 3 times the amount just to have specialized contractors come in and abate as you're working around it.
The mains in the area are undersized anyway to provide the proper fire protection. So Line 8 will not help the volume of water that's necessary for the districts either.
Thank you.
So I apologize if I'm a little bit uninformed because I did not know about this historically of what was going on. But I've talked to some of my neighbors.
Can we get your name, sir? And your
Oh,
address?
sure. Cliff Perry from Cecilia Lane.
Thanks.
And so a couple questions that I have. One of them is, we talk about we have an area that requires a lot of work, the Sonia area. Are we obligated to do stages 2 and 3? Because obviously the return on investment, your biggest bang for your buck is going to be fixing the problem area. And then, if we're moving, Laurel Lane into that stage 1 project, fine, you're going to actually solve a lot of the problems. Are we required to actually do stages 2 and 3 if we decide to proceed?
We're not really required, but during the public meetings, we had a substantial concern that a lot of people wanted the entire project to be done, because the main reason was that if the district approves for one area, and then let's say, because these mains, the reason why Usonia is going through such hardship is because of the age of the mains. Now, the other districts will eventually approach that age, and eventually they'll start having the same amount of repairs to be completed. So the district, the public meeting responses and also the survey responses was, I don't mind paying for it, but I want you to go do all of it. I don't want to have to go back to the district and then at some point someone will say, I don't want to pay for this because, the sediment may change. I think everybody believes that the entire district's in it now, so everybody wants to at least have the approval that they can go out and fund these scenarios. But also another thing is other checks and balances here. When the town board goes out for a project, they seek bids. They have to, they do have public input. And at that time, the town board will still hear from the residents saying, we don't think we need this or whatever. And at that point, the elected officials can decide whether they want to fund this or not. So there is check and balances in there. And also we did feel that because there's such a high response, positive response to have all of it done and not just for phase 1, that we felt that it was good to go with the authorization to do the entire district.
Well, the deficiencies are not strictly limited to the asbestos piping. You have aged piping also that needs to be repaired. It's not like every other pipe besides the asbestos is in good shape.
Correct. No, correct. It's just the difference with the asbestos pipe is the health concerns and also the testing and requirements required to put it back into service.
David, do the concerns for fire suppression exist in phase 2 and phase 3 as well, those areas?
Those areas are they're a lot, have better firefighting capabilities. As Usonia is, first of all, there's not many hydrants. The concern is if you do tap into a hydrant and use it for firefighting capabilities, that you'll actually compress and break the main. Right now, the fire suppression up in Usonia area is setting up a pool and having tanker trucks basically go to the site, fill up again, and they did have a couple of, I know they did have one house burned down a few years ago, and this plan and this project will significantly increase the firefighting capacity, which tankers will no longer be needed, and also there'll be more hydrants in the area to help suppress any firefighting issues that may arise.
Sure. So part of the reason for me asking about doing it in stages is I would assume that rates are going to go up in order to pay for this. And I guess people's thought on should we do the entire project might be mitigated once they see that their bills are going up significantly. And so that's why I'm sort of asking the question, after we do the first phase, which sounds like, it's a health issue and it's a safety issue, that's fine. And then do the rates then immediately go up to sort of pay for that portion, and then when we go to the second and third stages, so that at least we have a tiered system here where people start feeling the effects, because quite honestly, I think you said 500 houses are affected or so. It's actually a fairly small number for $16 million. I mean, it's a real concern. And so, again, I'd like the opportunity from the board's perspective to think of, raise the rates, people feel the impact, and then say, okay, we're going to continue with phase 2 and 3. Rates are still going to continue to go up, but this is a way to meter, and engage the community's feeling of, is this worth doing it right now? Phases 2 and 3, and sort of bring the issue back to light again.
It's a valid point. And I was just thinking of one other thing was if we authorize the full 16 million, the object is, and we do have grant writers on board with the town now, is to seek funding, and the state has up to 25% match funding for the project. So if phase 2 and 3 comes up, we can almost obtain 25% funding from the state, and that may lower the cost also. So if we are faced with, once phase 1, if we do seek bonding authorization and the project is underway, we'll have a better idea on the numbers too. But if those costs come in lower, if we've got a good contractor on board, we may go to phase 2, we may not. But if we do have, in a year or a year and a half, let's say we are awarded, a $3 million bond to do the remaining portions, it may make that decision by the board a lot easier. But there always is an ability to come back to the board and say, if we're going to go for a second phase, third phase, that we could submit another public hearing. We could have another public meeting to say, this is what we're looking to do. Phase 1 is now complete, almost like an update on how phase 1 is going and the costs and everything else. And we could also send out saying, we would like to approach phase 2. Let's have another public meeting.
And in fact, that is the way that David has approached this whole project, bringing it to the board and explaining it and really step by step going through. And I appreciate that because he's educated all of us. And I'm speaking for myself, but also the other board members. So we're really excited that the public has joined us and said, this is a good idea. And I really appreciate what you said, because I too, each one of us has to keep hold of what's going on and what we pay out in our own households. So hopefully this will work. And being that I do work for the health department in a different department, but I do speak with the engineers and I understand the impact of asbestos in water. And very good point. I didn't realize that you cannot even tamper with an asbestos pipe without there being some kind of health complications, can we say? And this is definitely the best plan. So I feel, thank you.
And this whole project started on the process of getting public input. So we wouldn't stop here. We would want to continue to get public input, just because, I was expecting a whole house full of people tonight. And the fact that we do have a sizable amount here. I don't want to discredit that, but other public meetings, we had a significantly more number. So I think our public outreach has helped. And it also, prior to the other phase 2 and phase 3, I think we will definitely continue this. And the board could also, when we do go back to the board could say, hey, we wanted you to go back out like you were suggesting. So.
Our authorization for bonding for the entire amount is one thing. It doesn't mean we have to get that money.
Right.
We're only going to be getting the bonding for the first phase.
Right.
So it's not like we're automatically going to get $16 million and start paying on it.
Hi, my name is Daryl Battaglia. I live on Cecilia Lane. So what is the primary reason for doing this? I'm unclear. Is it the water main breaks and the cost of repair? Is it the fire, or is it a health concern?
All of them.
All of them.
So has the water been tested from a health standpoint? Is it unhealthy?
Whenever, I don't mean to take the engineer's thunder, but I'll give you, 10 seconds to sit if you want. My understanding is that whenever there's a break, before we can put the line back into service, we have to do health department testing to make sure that it's clean of all contaminants as well as asbestos and all those things. Am I right about that one?
Mm-hmm.
So is it safe or is it unsafe? I'm still not clear on that.
Well, the water's tested regularly.
Yes.
Yeah, the health department has standards that they set Once you go beyond that, those health standards is no longer considered healthy. There are a number of fibers per some number I could tell you, but it's kind of boring. But there is a number or threshold that, and that's really what they're doing is they're saying this is the acceptable threshold. If you exceed this threshold, we won't allow you to open the water main. So is there studies there? The studies out there have said that there's not a link. There hasn't been as much studying done, but there's the studies that we've seen don't show a link right now. But I always say right now because you never know moving forward. But I do have a request from the health department saying when are these going to be replaced? And they do every year that we resubmit for our license to operate the district. They always ask, where are you with replacing the water mains? When is this going to get done? So there's no consent order per se, but it's just usually the health department, by asking those questions, it usually leads to something else. But we did state even in the pamphlet that there has been no true link. But I don't know many people who, would accept, water going through an asbestos main and thinking that drinking that water is acceptable. But there technically has been no scientific data showing a link.
So I guess my second question, I guess we are not asking for approval on all three phases. We're just asking for approval now on phase one.
No.
And
No, we're requesting authority to, or we're holding this public hearing. Ultimately, the board will be asked to pass a resolution authorizing to go get the bond, okay, to get authorization to bond it. But we don't draw on the money all at once. We draw on what we need for phase one, is my understanding. And then ultimately, when we move to phase two, if we do, we would draw on that. So it's like a line of credit almost.
Back in April, I was at the second hearing. And first of all, let me say, I think a lot of good work has gone into this. It's been scoped out very thoroughly. I appreciate it. It's also a lot of money.
Yeah.
Spread out over not a lot of homes. And when you look at the cost of the water main breaks, which I keep getting confused, like what is the reason we're doing? I keep hearing like half reasons for multiple things. And, is it the health? Is it the fire? Is it the water main cost? But the water main cost, the cost of repairing that doesn't justify the many millions of dollars that cost to do this.
The problem is that the mains keep breaking. So we repair them, we repair them, we repair them, we repair them. At some point in time, they have to be replaced.
Can you replace just the breaks?
That's what's done now.
Right. So all the pipes are old. That's the problem. So in the entire district. So all we're doing is putting Band-Aids on it. And actually, I would argue would increase your cost ultimately, because all you're doing is repairing breaks all the time. You're constantly opening up your roads. You have to ask yourselves, is that what your neighborhood wants? Rather than just biting the bullet and getting it done all at once. So, and from a cost perspective, to be able to do it all at once, and to be able to have the contractor there all at once to do all these things, it'll be one major inconvenience, but when it's done, it's done. But there's multiple reasons. There's not one particular reason we're doing this. There are health concerns because, again, nobody wants asbestos pipes. But the county licenses us every year. We pass our water tests, but nobody wants asbestos pipes. The pipes are also very old and they break constantly. They've washed out driveways, as you've heard. We're digging up the roads constantly. So what are the reasons that I missed, David?
Fire safety.
And so for the fire suppression, for fire safety as well, because the amount of volume of water you need to get through a pipe to properly extinguish a fire just can't be, homes are bigger nowadays and all those things when they put those pipes in the ground. How old are those pipes, David? Roughly.
70 maybe.
Right.
Yeah.
But I don't understand the situation. I forget which street it was, but you said in front of the same house 3 times it was going to break.
Laura.
So when it breaks, can't you replace that area? Is there a way to be more selective in where we're deploying funds? Is my question.
Yeah.
Yeah, when we get a water main break, the standard is we have to go to the next mechanical connection. Health department doesn't allow you to saw cuts or cut through the main itself. So we have to go to the connection. We have to break it off mechanically, remove the pipe. Just to give you an idea, this year what happened on Usonia, I think it was 44 Usonia. We had a 4-inch water main that was about 6 feet down that went underneath the driveway. We replaced it, took our sample, charged it. About a couple hours later, it cracked right down from that section of pipe. So then we had to come back. And meanwhile, we had 5 or 6 houses that were out of water in this area, small area, but it was around Labor Day or around that Labor Day weekend scenario. So we came back again. We took the pipe that was broken out of the ground. We replaced that, attached it to the next section, turned it back on, and that pipe broke. So within, and meanwhile, we're doing all this. It's probably taking a week and a half, 2 weeks time, multiple samples to the lab. Every asbestos sample is $500 just for the sample. But not only that, but we have thousands and thousands and thousands of other water mains that we have to repair. We don't have almost a division that's just associated with the old farm. So it's a lot of wear and tear on the staff. I mean, the staff have to be out there. You know, there was one water main, no supervisor was out there. It was Friday night. It was about 11:30 at night, and luckily the water main stopped. It was underneath I think it was a 20-inch maple tree. So I mean, but that was the 3rd repair we did there in the last 2 years. You know, that next section goes underneath the tree. We have to wait to take the tree down and everything else. And so it's just, I know on our side, it's just a substantial amount of work. And then we have to go out and hand out notices. And so it's neither here nor there. You can't really state that this is where the next break is. It just happens, unfortunately.
And I don't want to be the resident who is without water over Labor Day weekend.
That answer is helpful. I still struggle with the phase 2 and the phase 3. I was at the second of the 2 hearings last time, and there were about 12 people here maybe. And I did not hear support for phase 2 and phase 3. And in the original proposal, I forget the number, but there was a quote of what the total amount of cost would be for all 3 phases. And it was pulled out of the latest communications. And I'm just wondering why we're not sharing that with everyone. And if we could repeat what that cost is. I know that there's a possibility of getting up to 25% funding, and certainly we're all hopeful of that. But, you know, I guess that's the cap, if I understand that correctly.
And you know, just to make something clear while David pulls that number out, is that we don't have to do this. If y'all don't want us to do this, we won't do it. This is not something that we want to do. You know, the idea was to try and help your neighborhood. And so we've devoted a lot of time to this, and the impression that we got after speaking with all your neighbors is that this is something you all want to do. If you don't want to do it, say so, and we won't do it. It's that simple.
I'm specifically asking about phase 2 and phase 3, and I just want to make sure that we're making informed comments.
But what you want to understand about the other phases is it's not going to get any cheaper down the road. Phase 2 will have to be done eventually, whether it's 2 years from now or 5 years from now, and the cost will not be lower than it is now. And the financing today is about the lowest we're going to get, and that'll change also. Plus the grant money that we're seeking, we're seeking the grant money as we're doing this process now. And that would be a big asset if we get this grant money.
I mean, the bottom line is we want what you and your neighbors want.
I appreciate
Absolutely.
I'd still like to hear what the total estimated cost
absolutely.
is, you know, prior to any state funding that we get.
Yeah, I believe the pamphlet suggested it was 16 million at the time. We did a recalculation or we re-estimated it. And in our January 30th memo out to the district, it stated it was up to 16.34 million. So it's 340,000 more than our original estimate.
So that's the cost for all 3 phases?
All 3 phases,
Okay.
correct.
Oh, so all 3 phases.
And then the bond on that would be something more than that with interest?
Sure.
Whatever the interest payments are advertised over.
Got it. Yeah, I mean, that's really where my main issue lies, is with that much cost.
Yeah, it's a lot of money.
Over 500 homes. I'm not in favor of that full outlay at all.
Sure.
Doesn't matter what our current water bill is right now and how many years it's going to be spread out over, is a lot of money on a per household basis. And
The I think that's been one of the stumbling blocks as to why we, you know, we didn't do it sooner, is that, you know, because it's a huge number for a small district.
Yeah.
So I'm sorry,
Yeah.
I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, it's okay. And I want to see Usonia get fixed. I do, but the biggest concern to me is the fire part, not the cost of the water main breaks, not that at all, you know. And if you've got a historical area with Frank Lloyd Wright homes and all these other homes that are, you know, if it is a fire hazard, I'm not sure why our water district is having to pay for that entirely.
Well, it's not, this is not based strictly on a fire hazard. We're dealing with asbestos pipe, we're dealing with aged piping. It's not just the fire. That's not our number one concern.
There's
And
no
it's not-
scientific proof of the asbestos. That's a comment that is, I mean, if the water is being tested and it's not coming up as being unsafe, and like, I'm not really sure what to make of the asbestos comment, you know, as far as like that being a reason, because I'm just not hearing anything as far as.
Are you comfortable with the fact that your area is fed by asbestos mains?
I am comfortable if the water is tested and is safe. Yeah.
Because the average person, you hear asbestos and it's not a good thing. But like Councilman Rubio just said, this is not, we're not looking for this.
Okay.
You know?
Well, one last thing, and I say to my opinion, and I do appreciate all the work that has gone into this, but as far as the questionnaire or whatever you called it, the form that was sent out to everyone, do you guys have a copy of that here?
You provided.
Yeah,
I believe your email, I can send it to you, send the results also.
You know, so one concern that I had was it really asked, like, how do you want this done? It said, do you want it done this way, or do you want it done that way? Do you want phase one, or do you want all three phases? Would you like to pay for it in your water tax, or would you like to pay for it through in your water bill or through your regular taxes? I did not see an option on there that said, would you like to do this or not? And that concerns me a little bit.
Did we give people the option not to do it? Do nothing? Because again, my understanding is that this whole thing was started because we had a group of people come to us and basically said, "What are you going to do about this?"
Correct. Yeah, and we did have some people call about that, and in the survey, some people did write, no project at all under no circumstances. We did, I think, have 8 or 9 or 10 of those responses. There was a notes section where people did write notes all over the place, and we did leave those notes for interpretation on the survey. So we did take that into consideration, but there wasn't, it was mainly, should this project move forward, how would you proceed? But there was opportunity to get those comments. And then when we did receive some comments.
So I just want to say thank you. I do appreciate all the work, but I do take issue with that. You know, I mean, we're asking for public feedback. You know, it didn't ask whether you want it done or you don't want it done. Okay. Thank you.
Anyone else wish to address the board?
What was Justin from Justin Kirker, 7 Crestview? What's the breakdown in costs from phase 1, phase 2, and phase 3? I'm just curious. I don't know if that was mentioned anywhere. And then what's the exact locations for each phase?
The first phase, I think, was adjusted a little bit more. It was originally 6.5 at 7.1. As far as phase 2, the breakdown originally was 6.5 for the first phase, 5 million for the second phase, 4.5 million for the third phase. They were slightly adjusted when we did send it to bond council for their update. So they are revised a little bit. So phase 1, instead of being 6.5, is 7.1. And phase two may be a little bit less, but it was just switching the work out of the second phase into the first phase. As far as the area of work, I believe, hold on one sec.
Did you give the dollar amounts for phases 2 and 3?
I can get you the actual specifics, but yeah, it was.
5 and
Yeah.
4.5? Okay, I'm sorry.
So 7.15 and 4.5?
Yeah, it's about that. I mean, I can.
All right, I mean,
Yeah,
that's roughly it.
Yeah, roughly. I mean, if you did the, it is the 6.34 is the ultimate number. The 7.1 is for the first phase. So the other two phases, I mean, they're almost split in the middle. And for the areas, just give me a second. Okay, phase two would incorporate the area east of Old Farm Road. And phase three would replace the mains in the area west of Old Farm Road outside of Usonia. So if you took Old Farm Road and you split it down the middle, it would be phase two is on the east side and phase three is on the west side for the mains. I can give you more specifics. So as if we do approve of the bond authorizations, we can provide a breakdown complete for phases 2 and 3. Besides, we have phase 1, which is Usonia and smaller sections of Laurel Lane and Deerfield Lane, but the remaining phase 2 and 3, we can provide more information, more for breakdown. So if we choose to fund those in the next, in 2 years from now or whenever that phase could be authorized, then we'll definitely have that information out.
Yes, ma'am.
Jordana Silverstein again, Old Farm Road South. 2 questions. One, assuming all 3 phases are completed, how will that impact the families on Old Farm Road South, which is a pretty big street where most of us are still on septic? And right now, to connect to the sewer, it would cost about $40,000. So we're all going to be forced to connect to sewer when our septic runs out, our septic fields run out. I'm just trying to figure out how this additional burden will affect us. Will it mitigate any of the sewer costs, or is it, we're out of luck?
One has nothing to do with the other, though.
I didn't know. I don't know what the full project entails.
It's strictly water.
Okay, strictly water. Okay. And the second question is, start to finish, how long is the project expected to take? How many years?
It's an estimate, David. I know we talked about the time frame. There's a lot of things that could affect the timeline, the amount of rock you may run into, whatever. But
worst case scenario.
What'd you say?
Yeah. Let's start with phase 1.
Phase 1.
Worst case scenario that you're hitting bedrock.
Phase 1, if we were to authorize it tonight and proceed, we do have the contractor. I mean, the engineer should be able to produce fairly quick plans. We were actually trying to, potentially the bonding takes about 3 months to get the bond. So we do have a period to wait before we can do that. But within 4 months, I think we could probably get a project or a shovel in the ground. And then from that part, because we have winter approaching, it'll probably be 2 seasons. So If we did start in the summer, we'll probably get half the job done this summer. The second portion will be done next spring, and then probably by the summer of 2019. So if phase two was, I think each project was about 1.5 to 2 years. So if you're talking a full project, could be about 6 years.
Anyone else like to address the board? Yes.
I just have a quick question for Dave, if you could. More of a geography lesson. You may have covered some of this. How many homes are in the actual Old Farm Water District? And then when you looked at all 3 phases, how many homes are actually affected in each phase?
I don't have the numbers on phases 2 and 3. I know phase 1, there's probably about 64, 65 homes right now. I can give you that other information on the other 2 phases, the number of homes that are potentially involved. There's 542 customers.
Anyone else like to address the board? If there be no further comments, I would entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Saliano,
Second.
second by Ms. Smalley. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Close the public hearing. On Resolution 7418, that's to approve the improvements to the Old Farm Water District.
So moved.
Okay, the bonding will be separate. Motion by Mr. DiPaolo,
I'm going to go ahead and second that, please.
second by Ms. Smalley. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Resolution 75-18 would be authorization to go out to bond for the entire project, like it was explained before. It will be in phases. We will go for authorization for the entire amount, but we will not request the amount of money until we get to those phases.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Saliano,
I'll second it.
second by Mr. Rubio. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.
There you go.
No. Want to go home.
You got a baby.
I got home like a bungle.
It's good to hear somebody's in favor of it. You okay with this? All right, good.
I gotta shake that hand.
Good. You should have got it. Said something. All right.
How are you, Chris? I haven't seen you in a while.
Yeah. No.
I find some. Okay. No, you'll do the right thing and get everybody in a good mood. It's good to know. Nobody else
Right.
really angry.
And I'm sitting here going, wait a minute. What the hell's going on here?
Oh, that's not what it's not the direction it's going. And there's a little bit of mass of people here.
Yeah.
They will eventually.
No, I want to do extra work because
Right.
somebody
When you fix here, like you said, Band-Aid, you fix here, 30 feet down.
We had to follow the problem. Like when you get an old car, you start fixing.
Right.
The
Carburetor, the battery, you know. Good. So Vinnie Finnegan, he came in, he's working for,
I was hoping people.
Legal Aid.
Yeah, the legal aid side.
And we see he got such a. So, yeah, a couple of years he said, yeah, so he was, it was good seeing him.
Keeps him busy.
He says, you know, his couple of kids college age and one out.
Yeah, graduated and known. Little Vinny is, I think, a sophomore or junior.
Yeah.
And he's also, I guess, trying to go on the market. Yeah, so he went to. Like he took a semester off school.
Okay.
And then came back. So I guess he's maybe in the Army Reserves.
Yeah, my baby's doing ROTC.
He was signed up for that.
It takes a long time.
Yeah, but he said the word, the even harder part was like, apparently you're a Nazi, not like get a because they're going to cover expenses. Yeah, and it's also not guaranteed that you're going to be like captain.
Yeah, I've got to go in as officer.
Yeah, and so like he kind of has like very, very political. Like one thing we do every single day. Like your uncle is like a corporal or something. Okay, you're gonna get that investment. Like, and he was like, I don't know. I have nobody that can push to say he's gonna become officer and lead. So he said, so I think he still kind of trains with them, but now. And then their daughter leases second year. It's used to it. Like, kids don't want to college. Because now Joey's back from Tampa.
Yeah, it's hard for the kids. My granddaughter, she's going to the doctor, and her birthday was this week. A week or so before, she said to me, "Oh, gee, you can get me for my birthday." And she said, "It's a blanket I want for my bed." I said, "Oh, that's a better idea than mine." She said, "What did you know?" I said, "The carpet." So she's get the blanket. So I did the carpet.
We have an office in Rochester, so I go to Rochester. House. Or, you know, I got to fix this. Thank you for. I go to the office and I look at it and I'm like, all right, let's see this guy's house. See, everybody's address is like on the internal website. It's like an 8-year-old house on like 2 acres.
His taxes are $3,000.
He's got like a 2-car garage and like 4 bedrooms. And he paid $20,000 more. Like I said, to buy 850 square feet without parking.
What street are you on?
Yeah, which building?
10, is it the first building on the right? When you turn off Broadway?
I'm across the street. I'm getting right.
That's a newer building.
No, hers is newer. I'm in the older building.
Yeah, hers is newer.
Mine's really old. So I think her building is like from the 60s. And my building is from like 20.
Oh, okay.
So
she has a nice apartment.
Yeah.
She just got married.
It looks like I mean, they have more parking than I do.
Yeah, they have a parking, and she's on a list, and she's in a lot somewhere.
Yeah, down the street.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She pays that.
So I could pay there, but to work, I get a spot. We're right where the Walmart is.
So you can walk.
So I just like, pay for it. Every morning I'm in my car and I'm going to drive a block.
Yeah. And it's good exercise. So on a rainy day, you run with an umbrella.
You know what? It's not so bad. I even figured out the other day, it's like, walking out of the Walmart, you can like cut across, and then over there's like a area, it's like parking lot. You walk through that parking lot, and then you walk through like a little park, and you're there. And this is actually pretty good like that. You know where you're going. Like I walk my board, like if you walk to where the movie theater is,
Okay.
so you can walk through the Walmart, then walk where the movie theater is, then cross the street near the CVS, and you get in the front of the CVS, come out the back of the CVS, and then you're right by the county office.
See, when I was at Canyon, I used to cut through the 5 and 10. One of it was on Grove, I guess that is. No. Court Street, and cut through to Marion. It was really
same thing, yeah.
Especially
And then
when
if
it was
it's really bad, I'll cut through Macy's.
Okay.
And come out and go around the house.
It works. She has a nice apartment. I like the street too.
You know, it's a nice quiet street. They're talking about improving it. Housing is down where the parking is.
Really?
Yeah, so next time we're over there, you'll notice that there's all the car dealerships that are existing. And like they're gonna take that. And they're gonna rebuild
So
that.
it's Franklin and the other back up.
Broadway or whatever that is,
Yeah.
Westchester Ave.
Bloomingdale Road.
Yeah. So they're gonna do kind of both sides. There's a lot of. I mean, nice. It'd be like one of these.
My place is such a city. There's a lot of stuff for young people like yourself. You don't really have to go into it.
My girlfriend is Connecticut. I was scoped it out.
Yeah, because there's a lot going on.
Yeah, we go up to Connecticut. We go to like 1 or 3 restaurants.
Well, if you see a girl walking a beige dog.
Big dog or little dog?
Little dog. Little medium-sized.
If you need any kind of
No. The dog is like a reddish tan. Yeah.
I'm usually pretty good about it. I notice most of the people with dogs. My building has dogs, but they don't allow new dogs.
Oh, okay, so if you were in there with a dog, you were grandfathered in.
Yeah.
Well, she's out walking the dog about 5 in the morning because she has to be to work at 5:30. She's over in Kendall. Kendall on the Hudson. She's the pastry chef.
You gotta be really.
They gave her off a week. They closed the dining room over there because they were getting sick. They were feeding the residents in their room, and there was no baking going on. They just giving them store-bought cookies, prepackaged. You know? Yeah. But
Yeah, I never thought about it. They came out yesterday at 5 o'clock.
Yeah. So, she does some great stuff.
My friend, she's
It was great when she was at the culinary. She was bringing all these samples.
She was out of water. Of course. It's like I was Joanna with cruises, cookies and stuff. Say, Joanna, my mouth says something, my waistline says go to hell.
Yeah, but I mean, what a good sport, right? I mean, like, take care of
Yeah.
And everybody plays so I would say.
Mike, can I ask a simple question? There's a lot of problems with the mail. Mail. Do you do anything about that? Well, that's
No, it's federal.
Those are the federal.
It's good to see you.
We're in the same lane. We need to get mail that belongs to other people.
Oh, my
We don't get notices.
You have to go to the post office. You know who will respond to you? Nita Lowy.
Oh.
Because we had some trouble with mail here, and they looked into it.
And this is an issue daily.
Suzanne Lane is which post office, Valhalla?
Pleasant.
Pleasant?
It's off of, Bear.
Oh, that's right, yeah, yeah.
Apparently, Mr. Apollo was just saying that this is also an issue in other parts of the county. they've got even money involved because it's a federal agency.
Mail every day. I get somebody else's mail and I put it back in the mailbox.
For them to
making
take.
sure that the postman knows which one it
Hey,
is.
what's wrong?
Well, if nothing else, they tell me well,
Somebody's fault. But your postman is
Exactly. And
But that's a federal issue. Contact me.
on that.
Nita Lowy.
Yeah, and
That's federal, yeah. Unfortunately.
and all of you signed the letter, more than one person.
Now, it's daily.
Every
It's a
day.
Sure, they have the same problem.
It's getting better. That's
We
right.
shipped
I
out
think
our,
maybe they finally
the
hit on
notices for the
regulation
garbage
and
collection, the schedules,
physical therapy
on
every
the same
week.
street. You could have people getting 2
Yeah.
copies, other people getting no copies,
Oh my gosh, I'm a golfer.
and somebody else down the street doesn't get any. It's like, get rid of them as fast as you can, so you have to deliver.
Right.
Ma'am, I'm gonna give you a phone number.
Mail notice that, right?
They don't care. Oh, yeah. Well, keep calling.
Then you're waiting for something and you don't know where it is. And maybe not everybody is that good about returning it to the right person.
They lost 3 packages of mine in the past year. They have no idea where they are.
They delivered my drugs to a cutlery place. I get some express scripts to a cutlery place in Boston. Now,
Is that a 9?
914. Can I write it down, Ron? 914. I didn't go to Catholic school. That's why my handwriting. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely right. You're absolutely right.
And nobody.
We have one. Thank you.
Good night.
Good night. Good night. Have a good evening.
Go get them.
And scam calls, are you
Yeah,
aware
thank you.
of?
Is there anything else?
Give them my cell phone. 4 or 5 a day.
The IRS is after. I've gotten some.
Medical,
calls, too.
medical, I've been getting calls about medical.
It is so
Public hearing
annoying.
to water rates?
Huh?
Yeah.
All right, thank you very
It's
much
just a
for your
setup.
time and effort.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Bob, what is?
Good night.
Good night.
We're gonna go.
What's that? Oh, gee, we're going to move on to the supervisor's report. First item on the report is the approval of our 2017 PenFlex Service Award Program. This is a program we have with the Ambulance Corps. We've had it quite a few years, many years. And it's something we have to approve every year. We get a certified list from the Ambulance Corps, and then we have to make, by resolution, approve moving forward and approving their list. So Resolution 76-18 will approve the service award program for the Valhalla Ambulance Corps.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Saliano, second by Ms. Smalley. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Next item is the approval of an IMA. That's an intermunicipal agreement with the Village of Pleasantville for yard waste handling. It's another thing that the town of Mount Pleasant does with other municipalities. We've been doing shared services for many years in the town of Mount Pleasant with our neighboring communities. This will just continue our existing yard waste agreement for 2018.
Move for approval.
Motion by Mr. Rubio,
Second.
second by Mr. DiPaolo. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Next item is we have to call for a public hearing for the extension of Consolidated Sewer District Number 1 for William and Sandra Fletcher, 123 Palmer Lane, Thornwood, New York. Section 107.13, Block 1, Lot 37. We schedule that for,
Your next meeting,
yes,
27?
February 27th at 8 PM.
So move.
Motion by Mr. Rubio,
Second.
second by Mr. Saliano. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Next item is a purchase order number 18838, AmeriSafe Group for Confined Space Rescue Refresher Training Course, total of $2,680. This cost is split between our water and recreation departments. This is a requirement for safety entering confined spaces.
I'd like to make a motion for approval, please.
Motion by Mr. Saliano,
Second.
second by Ms. Smalley. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Items 5, 6, 7, and 8 are for Sullivan Data. These are 4 different proposals. This is items that we had budgeted for 2018. Last year, we didn't have as many updates that were required. This year, there is more updates required, whether it's for recreation department, for the clerk's office, the receiver's office. All these things needed to be updated. For the recreation, we're moving into credit card acceptance. So that there's a lot of requirements for the recreation department. But the first resolution, 80-18, is approval of Sullivan Data proposal for hardware and software required for the TH1 server at a cost of $14,521.40. That's proposal number 11597.
Move for approval, please.
Motion by Ms. Smalley,
Second.
second by Mr. DiPaolo. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Next one for Sullivan Data, Resolution 8118, approval of Sullivan Data for professional services required for the TH1 server replacement and services required to set up the online credit card processing. That's proposal number 11599. Total cost for those services, $5,500.
Move for approval.
Motion by Ms. Smalley,
Second.
second by Mr. Saliano. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Next item is Resolution 82-18, approval of Sullivan Data IT hardware and software upgrade for 2018. This is proposal number 11601, total of $14,924.98. There's a couple pages of equipment needing to be replaced throughout Town Hall.
Move for approval. This is a proposal 11601.
Yes.
Yes.
Motion by Mr. Rubio,
Second.
second by Mr. DiPaolo. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Next item is proposal number 11600. Hope I did that numbers right. Total, this is $16,029. There's 3 pages of equipment.
Right.
This is also for the professional services required for cabling and related upgrades.
Move for approval.
Motion by Mr. Rubio,
Second.
second by Ms. Smalley. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Next item is call for a public hearing for new water rates for 2018. That would be also February 27th at 8 PM.
Move for approval.
Motion by Mr. Rubio,
Second.
second by Mr. Saliano. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Next item is, some of you may or may not know, our chief of police is attending a very intense training program. This resolution just approves his attendance at the Quantico Extensive Training Course.
Make a motion for approval, please.
Motion by Mr. Saliano,
Second.
second by Mr. DiPaolo. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Next item is a request to remove Matthew Rubo, 26 Sunset Drive, Thornwood, from the Kensico Water District. The other portion on that resolution is the credit, which we cannot credit a previous tax bill. So moving forward, he will not see this change until the 2019 tax bill. All right?
So it's only to adjust the 2018 tax assessment.
No, we're not adjusting we're adjusting it, we're removing him from the assessment roll for a water district
2019.
for Newtowns. He's not in he's in the water district, but he cannot get water. It's not obtainable. So resolution 8618 will simply remove him from the tax roll for the water district.
I'll move for approval.
Motion by Mr. Rubio,
I'll second it.
second by Mr. Saliano. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Next item is approval of Robert Guena, his employment, effective date 2/1/18, and an annual salary of $30,000 due to his entering the retirement system. Robert has been retained by us because he maintains the required certifications for our water, and his help will be greatly appreciated. He's been employed with us, but now that he entered the retirement system, his maximum salary would be $30,000.
Move for approval, please.
Motion by Ms. Smalley,
Second.
second by Mr. DiPaolo. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Next item is approval of the following minutes with the attached corrections: 1/10/17, 2/28/17, 3/21/17, 3/28/17, 4/11/17, and 4/25/17.
Move for approval.
Motion by Mr. Rubio,
Second.
second by Mr. Saliano. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Next resolution, in case many of you did not know, unfortunately, my confidential secretary had a very bad fall. Got some serious injuries, but she's on the mend. She'll be out of commission for quite a while. This resolution is approval to hire Samantha Languard at $15 per hour for assistance in my office during the secretary's absence.
Motion for approval, please.
Motion by Mr. Saliano,
Second.
second by Mr. DiPaolo. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Next is the authorization to call for a civil service list for the code enforcement officer for the building department. This is required. We have an existing code enforcement officer, but because of the timing of his employment by the town and the test, we would be required to call for an active residence list.
Move for approval.
Motion by Mr. Rubio,
Second.
second by Ms. Smalley. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Next item is due to the changes in the controller's office and some staffing cuts. We are requesting to hire Sergio Sensi, who helped us out last year during our audit process. Effective date is February 26th to March 9th, 2018, at $85 per hour to assist with the 2017 audit.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Saliano,
Second.
second by Mr. Rubio. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Our investment report is unchanged, 0.85%. At this time, we'll have business from the floor. Anyone who wishes to address the board is welcome to do so.
Ken Noonan, Valhalla. First thing, I'm understanding that this board met this evening at 6 o'clock with the company that you have hired to do grants.
Yes.
No, that's not correct, actually. The board did not meet.
The board did not meet?
No, the board did not meet. They were,
I got here at 7:45.
myself and Supervisor Fulgenzi met with the company tonight.
Oh, it's just a joke.
Mr. Noonan, I was at the health department until approximately 6:30, and I believe I arrived here at perhaps 7:28 in time for the 8 p.m. meeting. So no, we did not meet.
Okay, that's fine. No,
Question regarding that?
Pardon me?
Is that the only question you had with that?
It's the only question I had, but it's fine. You answered it. The second thing is there's no public folder here tonight. Is there any way?
Unfortunately, my secretary is out. I've been preparing the paperwork myself. So until I get our assistant who's helping me now, until I get her on board to try to do that, I'll do my best to get the paperwork out there.
Okay. The third thing I have is on the public hearing for new water rates. Why are we getting new water rates?
Because it's a tiered system. And so we're actually reducing rates for lower water usage. And as the idea is to increase the rates for commercial usage because they use the most. So it's a tiered system.
You already have established tiered water rates. You're just adjusting them. Is that?
Do we have a tiered system right now?
Yeah, you have a tiered system now, don't you?
Yes, we did. We have the
This is the
document right here.
new rate system for 2018.
Yes.
The problem with the way it was before, the commercials were getting a benefit. Those of us who use less water were taking care of the excess use of the commercials. Now it's a little bit better system. Those who are conservative will pay more than they were paying in the past. And those who do not conserve will pay more water rates, higher rates.
But it's also a big benefit for senior citizens. So less water, my understanding, less water you use, your price is better. So
the lower tiered rates are going to go down, you say?
Yeah. So for senior citizen, it's better.
It's based on usage, and we did have the rates in effect in 2017, and we're looking at the authorization is requested for the town board to adopt the following water rate schedule for 2018, and that's basically what this public hearing will be on.
So will you publish these new rates that you're
That's why it's the public
That's
hearing.
why
We
it's a
have to
public
know.
hearing.
Yeah.
And then when it's adopted also.
And we have to publish the rates as part of the public hearing notice, correct?
Yes.
Yeah, it's all out in the open.
So, well, in advance of the public hearing, will we know what these rates are that
It'll be in
you're
the
thinking
paper.
about?
It's in the public notice.
It'd be in the public.
In the legal section.
You can't put it on the website?
I'll do my best. I'm not real proficient at doing that, but I'll try.
You look proficient to me. The next thing is regarding Chief Oliva's attendance at Quantico. Why are you not mentioning how long he's going to be away?
It's a 10-week program.
10-week program, but you don't mention it. Why?
I'm sorry.
Oh.
I made a mistake.
Oh, don't you think, yeah.
Does that affect anything?
Well, I would think that the public should know that he's going to be away 10 weeks.
They know now.
No, yeah. But, you didn't say it. I was wondering
Mr. Nguyen, the most important point is the advanced training that he has and how he's going to train his officers and that he's getting the best training in the world and he's going to.
For free.
No, but I
making
understand that, but
improvements. That's really the key point.
Yeah, just think it should be mentioned. It should be mentioned. And finally, regarding the code enforcer, we have a code enforcer now.
Right.
Is that going to change? Are you getting a new one? or-
Hopefully not. If he's on the list, he'll stay.
He was hired provisionally.
Provisionally, and then he's going, you have to do this civil service.
Civil service, CSEA. Mhm.
Okay. Thank you.
Anyone else wish to address the board? We'll move on to our town clerk's report.
Public hearing, Old Farm Water District improvements and bid opening, school bus, various trips. Received town clerk supervisor and registrar's report for January 2018. Received building department report for January 2018. Received oath of office from the Pleasantville Fire District, Stephen Harrigan for commissioner. Received notice of liquor license, new liquor license, Gordo's 415 Commerce Street, Hawthorne, New York. Received notice of 2 liquor license renewal, Blue Hill at Stone Barns LLC, 630 Bedford Road, Mechanical Hills, New York 10591. Received annual reports for the following: 2017, Recreation and Parks Department, Board of Assessment Review, Mount Pleasant Public Library, Architectural Review Board, Zoning Board of Appeals, and the Planning Board. Planning Board agenda for February 1st, 2018, 4 zoning board resolutions. Natalie Jokic, Daniel Amucci, Marian Nikai, and Christina and Dan Wapole. 6 planning board resolutions, Baker Residential LTD final subdivision, Baker Residential LTD wetland control permit, Baker Residential LTD steep slope permit, Zapaco Real Estate Development for their car storage facility, Venabinil and Titus accessory apartment, and Macon Land Development steep slope permit. Received from the town of Newcastle, public hearing. Application for demolition of existing council hall and construction of new 2-level council hall. 2 notices of claim. Julian Joseph Cazoza versus the town of Mount Pleasant and the village of Pleasantville, and Cynthia Collado versus the town of Mount Pleasant. I just want to remind everybody, your parking permits for the commuter parking lots are on sale. They're due March 1st. You can pay with check or cash. It's $375 this year. And when you come in, please bring your registration and your driver's license with you. And if you can't come in, someone else can do it for you. Thank you.
Item K would be referred to our town attorney.
Thank you.
Moving on to council reports, Mr. Caliano.
Thank you, Mr. Supervisor. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My report is from the Controller's Memo. It's Resolution 9518. The following claims are submitted for Town Board approval. Justice Court, Precise Translators LLC, that's December 2017, interpreter fees, it was $660. November 2017, interpreter fees was $1,160 for a total of $1,820. From receiver of taxes, Software Consulting Associates Incorporated. This is from a period of 12/26 to 12/31/17. Additional tax programming was $1,850. Moving forward to Central Data Processing, Sullivan Data Management Incorporated, $1,350. From Off-Street Parking, New York State Department of Transportation, February 2018 commuter parking is $1,400. From Information Services, Leonardo Lucenti. This is furniture equipment rack from Matrix Auto Video. The price was $1,675. From Employee Benefits, PERMA, 2018 Workers' Comp New York State Assessment, $76,068.71. From Public Safety, Amazon Capital SVC, Battery Pack UP Emergency, $735.61. Corsi Tire, scrap tire, PD stock, and tires, PD stock, it was $16 and $555.36. Mavis Tire Supply Corporation, tires, PD stock, $712.75 for grand total $2,018.72. Moving forward to senior citizens trips, JTR Transportation, This was a senior transportation to a cruise ship for $1,500. From employee benefits, this is PERMA, 2018 workers' comp, New York State assessment, $14,666.31. From general repairs, CRL transportation, Ren triaxle sand, 80.69 tons. The total was $1,774.37. CLR transportation, Ren triaxle sand, 80.69 tons. The price was $1,800. The grand total, ladies and gentlemen, was $3,574.37. From employee benefits, again, PERMA, 2018 workers' comp, New York State assessment, $242,638. From employee benefits, again, PERMA, 2018 workers' comp, New York State assessment, $12,257.86. From employee benefits, PERMA, 2018 workers' comp, New York State assessment, $7,062. From the Mount Pleasant Consolidated Sewer District, Kinsley Power Systems, $2,563. MS Industries Incorporated, $622.72. Emergency Responder Products, $776.69. The total was $3,962.41. From employee benefits, PERMA, 2018 workers' comp, New York State assessment, $25,424.56. From the Joint Water District Fund, MS Industries Incorporated, laser weld gas saw, $934.08. Emergency Responder Products, reflective work sweatshirts, $1,165.03. The total was $2,099.11. From employee benefits, PERMA, 2018 workers' comp, New York State assessment, $40,424.56. The grand total is $639,792.61. It's signed Maria Langlois, our controller, and I respectfully ask the board for a motion of approval, please.
Motion by Mr. Saliano,
Second.
second by Mr. Rubio. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Thanks.
Tom, I would just ask one thing. On
Yes.
If you could ask the controller's office to be a little more descriptive on the PERMA. It looks like it's repeated a number of times, and I know it's for different departments. But I think it'd be easier if we have a better description of what department is for.
Okay, that's an excellent suggestion. I'll make sure that gets done.
Thank you.
Okay. I have two other items, Supervisor. Thank you. This is Resolution 9318. This is a final lump sum payment for Catherine Locasio. The total was $5,382.96. This was for vacation leave and sick leave. She retired, and we wish her well. We thank her for her service, and I respectfully ask the board for approval for this payment, please.
Motion by Mr. Saliano,
Seconded.
second by Ms. Smalley. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Thanks so much. And my last item as the supervisor is Resolution 9418. Final lump sum payment for Kathleen Pucci. Total is $23,060.50. Again, thank you very much for your service. Enjoy your retirement. The breakdown is vacation and sick leave, and the grand total was $23,060.50. And I ask the board for approval on this item, please.
Motion by Mr. Saliano,
Second.
second by Mr. DiPaolo. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you. And again, thank you for your service to our town. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilman Rubio.
Thank you, Mr. Supervisor. I have 3 items on this evening's agenda, the first of which is Purchase Order 18669, Vendors Rescue Stuff. These are ballistic vests for 2 of our new police officers. Half the cost will be reimbursed by the Bulletproof Vest Partnership. The total cost is $1,737.20. I move for approval.
Motion by Mr. Rubio,
Second.
second by Mr. DiPaolo. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you. Next is purchase order. There's a slight typo on the agenda. The purchase order is 18622. And the vendor is Eltron Corporation. These are for mobile printers for the cars when they write traffic tickets. The cost is $611.96, and I move for approval.
Motion by Mr. Rubio,
Second.
second by Mr. DiPaolo. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you. And finally, we have a memo here from Lieutenant Michael Pierce requesting that the board consider the expenditure of $100 for Police Officer James Riley to attend a juvenile police officer course offered from March 5th to March 9th, 2018 by the Westchester Police Academy. Again, the expenditure is $100, and I move for approval.
Motion by Mr. Rubio,
Second.
second by Mr. Saliano. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you. Have a good night.
Thank you. Councilwoman Smalley.
Good evening. My report this evening is from Parks and Recreation. There are 4 items on the agenda. The first is PO number 18833. It's a deposit for the upcoming Billy Joel concert trip, and that is for number 98-1818833 in the amount of $4,658.50. Move for approval, please.
Motion by Ms. Smalley,
Second.
second by Mr. Saliano. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you. The second item is purchase order number 18360. It's an emergency work. It's emergency carpet replacement for up at the community center. It's for the amount of $7,185 for Floorcraft carpet at 17 Gramercy Place in Thornwood, New York. Again, the amount is $7,185, and this is an emergency replacement. Move for approval, please.
Motion by Ms. Smalley,
Second.
second by Mr. Saliano. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Thank
That
you.
cupboard is actually downstairs in the recreation department.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Um,
Yes, it is.
It's become a tripping hazard, so,
And I believe we're not doing carpet, we're going with tile.
yes.
The next item is item number 3 on the agenda, and it's Recreation Memo number 11. Approval for Elaine Donnelly to attend Tri-State Camp Conference in Atlantic City, March 19th through the 23rd, 2018. At this conference, Elaine Donnelly, who coordinates all our summer activities for our campers in many of our programs, will be getting all the information to plan the trips for a safe summer for our children in the town. So I'm asking for the total cost not to exceed $900. Move for approval, please.
Just a correction on the agenda. The date is 20th through 22nd.
I see. The agenda itself says 19 through 23, and the memo, number 11, says 20 through 22nd.
Right.
Thank you. Okay. Please
Motion.
note the correction.
Motion by Ms. Smalley,
Second.
second by Mr. Rubio. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you. And the last item, let's see if I can get through this tonight. It's approval to extend the contract with Custom Clay for ball-field clay sand mix. Okay, this is for $65 a ton delivered, and my understanding is this is the 3rd year. The bid was renewed for 2016 and 70 as allowed by contract. So we're into the 3rd year of this bid. Move for approval, please.
Motion by Ms. Smalley,
Second.
second by Mr. DiPaolo. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you. Thanks for bearing with me tonight. I'd like to also report really good news. The Office of Elder Americans, which falls under the Parks and Rec Department, applied for and did receive a $2,500 grant and will be able to apply that to a senior program of their choice. This is under the direction of Lori Gonzalez, who heads that department under Kelly Rizzi, the superintendent of Parks and Rec, and we applaud them for their efforts. Thank you.
Councilman DiPaolo.
Thank you, Mr. Supervisor. Good evening to the public. On behalf of the Highway Department, there are two items on the agenda this evening. The first is seeking authorization to deposit into escrow $360 for curb cut permit 1455 in the name of MR Homes Incorporated, and that is for work being done at 2 Livingston Avenue in Valhalla. Upon successful completion of the work, the amount will be refunded. Move for approval.
Motion by Mr. DiPaolo.
Second.
Second by Mr. Saliano. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
The second item is seeking authorization to accept $1,600 for street opening permit 6383, and that is in the name of Hudson Valley Land Management Corp., and it's for work being performed at 90 Old Farm Road South. Again, once the work is completed and restored, the amount will be refunded. Move for approval.
Motion by Mr. DiPaolo.
Second.
Second by Mr. Rubio. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
The scheduled meetings are work session Tuesday, February 20th at 7 p.m. Business session Tuesday, February 27th at 8 p.m. And if there be no further discussion from the board, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Saliano.
Second.
Second by Mr. Rubio. Meeting adjourned. Thank you.